This was never supposed to be two parts, therefore I do not have an intro. This is the intro, bestie. I'm giving bare minimum right now because the editing has taken me too long and there's no way I'm going upstairs to get dressed up and tell you this. Words, friends, you're gonna see me at my worst and at my best. This is just my analysis on both of her reaction videos. The last and final video to the Teal Swan ADHD session will be posted sometime later this month. But anyways, please follow me on my TikTok, my Instagram, or my Twitter if you want daily content from me. And let's just proceed in to talk about her reaction videos. Anyway, so let's get into Teal's reaction because there is a lot, as you can tell, from watching part 3 and 4. So first, she started out her reaction by saying that the storyline was completely made up, that they filmed her for 3 years and they only took bits and pieces of it and just created what they wanted to see and what they wanted to show. And I just want to say that, yes, is it technically cut and created to show a storyline because it's 3 years of footage. Nobody is going to be able to watch 3 years of footage, especially not I. But are we saying that every single storyline and every single thing in this entire documentary is made up? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
BFFR. What did that spell? B fucking for real.
So she denies that she leads a cult. And she says, and I quote, "Cults try to seduce you into joining and then use control to keep you there." Girl.
That's exactly what the inner circle does. What are you talking about?
Now your outer circle, self-help. They love each other. There's some self-help trying to get, out of their deepest, darkest place. Your inner circle?
Miss Ma'am.
Be so for real. Because if we're going to be anything, let's be for real. You seduce people into joining. You find the most, I don't want to say weakest. You find people when they're at their weakest. You find people when they're at their lowest. And you tell them that you have all the answers. If you found me when I was at my lowest and you told me that you could fix all my problems, how was that not persuasive? How was that not seducing me? Somebody answer in the comments because I'm not understanding. And then you exert control to keep them there. Are we going to forget that the non-negotiables exist?
We're forgetting now?
You're out of your rabbit mind. When she said that, I said, girl, that's exactly what you do. What are you talking about? So she goes on to restate that Jake is her ex-boyfriend and that he has an axe to grind with her. And like 100%, her ex-boyfriend probably does have an axe to grind with her. He probably does have some unresolved issues with her. And I don't believe that she told this man to stop paying his child support or paying his wife alimony. I don't believe that. But do I believe that she made up some shit and then made him believe it? Yes. Yes. Yes, I do. Because there's too many people that don't know their trauma until they meet you, Till. That sounds mighty fishy to me. She also goes on about the fact that the documentary continues to portray her as somebody that she's the opposite of, that she invites questions and discussions. And I'm just like, yeah, you invite questions and discussions with the people that you are mentoring. You're not inviting questions and discussions with the people that are in your inner circle and that are working for you. I don't think anybody is really inviting questions and discussions for every single thing, especially for people who are working with them. Let's be so for real again. I'm not saying that you don't, because I definitely watch some of her videos. I definitely think that she does leave kind of somewhat an open discussion. Not kind of. She leaves an open discussion for her outer circle. But do I believe that she is very much strict and straightforward and wants things done a certain way with her inner circle? Of course, because those are the people that work for her. She's paying them, I think. If we're believing Jake, absolutely not. She's not paying none of them people. And then it's like when we got to the non-negotiable part, she didn't even touch it in the way that I wanted her to. First of all, she didn't even say the word non-negotiable because she already knew that that word is triggering. She knows that that word already reads her as a cult. Just hearing that word related to somebody, like you're saying that somebody's signing a contract and the contract's name is non-negotiable and the first thing is your family You can't put your family before Teal. That sounds weird, and she knows that. So instead of her saying the non-negotiables, she goes on to use false equivalencies, and she's like,
I'm a company, and what I do is we're a company, and just like a company, I have things that I want the people that are working for me to focus on. If Apple sells computers, they want everybody to focus on selling the most computers. How is that any different from me wanting my people to focus on our company's mission, just like Apple?
those are not the same. That's why I said it's a false equivalency. You're trying to equivalate a product with an experience. They're not the same. Also, Apple is not saying you can't have personal boundaries that affect Apple when you're trying to sell these computers and these iPhones. Apple's not saying that. You are. She was saying that the people who did the documentary were trying to make it seem like she was trying to keep Juliana from her parents in Germany and keeping Blake from Germany. But in reality, they were just trying to figure out a way for them to go because their work schedule is so hectic that it was just impossible for them to go during this time.
BFFR. What did that spell?
365 days. That's how many days are in a year. There are 52 weeks in a year. And you're telling me 365 days, 52 weeks, you couldn't find a couple days to let them leave and go to Germany? And then and for some reason, again, she tried to use correlation with causation or some shit like that. Like it correlates. It doesn't correlate. She says, and Juliana's dad knows. Because you want to know why? He's a facilitator. He went through my program. Bitch, what does him having to be a facilitator of your program have to do with the fact that you're not trying to give these people off who just got married to go to Germany so that he can meet her parents?
And the reason that I say that this doesn't correlate is because the facilitators don't work for her program. Maybe some of them do, but a lot of them don't. She made it apparent on her website and in this documentary that the facilitators can go out and facilitate and essentially create their own business doing the techniques that she's teaching them during the retreats. So again, how does him being a facilitator have to do with them not being able to take a vacation? You see how the math is not mathing? You see how 2 + 2 = 4, but somehow she's getting 16? That's what I'm saying.
You're saying it's not a cult, but it quacks like a cult and it talks like a cult. So it's feeling like a cult. With Juliana, every time there was something up that maybe made Teal look like the villain against Juliana, she had to immediately defend it. She wouldn't touch some of the other shit in part 3, and she would state because it would make the video too long. I don't think so. Her video was barely 14 minutes. I think it was like 17 minutes at that. But there's this weird part where she's bringing up Juliana and her mom's conversation, and they're having a conversation in German because Juliana is from Germany, as we already stated. And her mom is asking, like, are you guys always together? And she's like, yeah, we're always together. Or are you guys together always? Or something like that. But then she brings up the literal translation, and she's like, no, it's are you together always? Like, or do you guys work together a lot? Like, girl, no. You don't speak German. I already looked it up. Even though you've had shows and stuff in Germany, you don't speak a lick of German. You've never studied German. I want to hear from Juliana, because when you're learning a language, especially when it's translated into English, what it literally translates it into is not what it always means. I'm going to believe that before I believe you. I'm so sorry. Unless Juliana is going to come out and say, yeah, no, that's what she was actually asking. I don't understand how you would know that. I mean, unless Matthias translated it for you, but man, I don't believe Matthias either. So maybe I'm just never going to believe it. And then she starts talking about how she never had a problem with Juliana and Blake again, right? She wasn't watching them. She doesn't have any problem with them. She didn't have any arguments with them. No, everything that was going on, it was because they were having marital problems, and then they were deflecting it back on her. And like, she had a problem with Blake's schedule and how strict his schedule was, so she made it accommodating, and she even let him work from home when that's not even something they do. Bitch, if you could let him work from home and you were doing all this accommodation, why couldn't you let him leave to Germany? You see how the math is not mathing there? If you were accommodating him so much, making the accommodations that you stated in this video, that you don't even make these type of accommodations for nobody, but you were trying to be nice because that's your friend, right? On top of that, they're newlyweds, to let him work from home. Why couldn't he work from home from Germany? Why couldn't you give him a week? That's what I'm not understanding here. And then the whole portion where I showed you where she told Juliana, like, me and you now have a problem. In her video, she's stating that the camera wasn't looking at her and her voice changed. I can 100% say that the camera was not looking at her. It was looking at Juliana and capturing her reaction. Did her voice change? No. Her voice doesn't. She says, no. Did you hear the way my voice dropped a pitch and it sounded like modularized because they were cutting and slipping the words and stuff like that, because this was set in a different time and a different... And it's just like that. None of that is true. It sounds completely the same. But y'all could tell me, play the fucking clip.
People don't start doing this kind of work on themselves, they're headed off a fucking cliff.
I can see that, but some people are not ready to do that, what do you
Then they're gonna die. That's the thing.
You force them.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I don't feel like we can force them. But it doesn't work that way.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. You literally just crossed the line. Now we have problems.
So then she goes on to say that she doesn't plant fake memories, that she's committed to family healing and family help. But it's just like, why is it every single person that you're helping has no relationship with their family, especially the people that are within your inner circle? None of them have any relationship with their family. But that's because you can't put your family before too. I got it. Never mind. And then she talks about how Sabrina is one of her favorite clients and that the reaction that we saw in the deep end wasn't actually the true one. And then she shows actually like video and an audio clip of it. And I'm not going to lie, the conversation was definitely deeper than what Hulu edited to be. That's fucked up for them to do that, because they made it seem like she destroyed this girl's life, right? And this girl was fed up and tired of her. Hulu edited it to make it seem like she destroyed this girl's life, right? And that this girl was fed up with her. That's how they edited it. What she showed was that the girl was still like, yeah, maybe my life did get a bit better, but I'm still tired of like doing this, and I'm tired of the healing process and how depressed I am in between this and this and this and this. And it's just like, but she never commented on anything else that happened after that clip, because that's what I believe, that was the truth. When that girl was bawling her eyes out talking about she was going to let herself go if she didn't feel any better after the retreat, that was true. Her talking about that girl and then talking about how it was going to affect her and how people were going to see her, that was true. And the conversation, the hard conversation that they had where she said she was tired of going through her pain and her trauma, that was probably a real conversation. The only thing that they made it seem like was that this girl was tired of her and what seemed like a facade. And that's wrong. Obviously, the girl still believes, Sabrina still believes in her and still believes that she can help her. But everything else that happened after that seems to be truthful, because she never makes any comment on it. And that, to me, is so much worse than the girl being tired of her. Because somebody being tired of you and seeing through your bullshit is one thing, but somebody like not being tired of you, but being tired of the bullshit and then seeing all the pain and trauma that technically you have kind of added to, because you've opened up all of these doors and then you didn't even close them. You left them open and they were supposed to deal with them. And now they're just coming to these retreats back to back, and months between the retreats, just waiting so that they can finally heal. I don't know. That seemed worse to me. And then she speaks about the part of the waterboarding process, which we already talked about in the main video. I wasn't going to let that shit slide. They were not waterboarding that girl. And then a weird part where I don't know if I'd mentioned this, but she had said I love you to Teal, and Teal was like, I use love in a specialized way where one person takes another person as a part of themselves. Is that a specialized way? Can somebody tell me? Because I feel like That's generally like the logical explanation of love. You love somebody so much that you accept them as an extended piece of yourself. They are a part of you. And again, she goes on with the false memories and talking about how I have a modular that shows you how to not implant false memories. I didn't implant false memories into Garcia. I didn't poison her with that frog poison, even though that's what it looked like. They just made it seem that way. That's just the reaction. I don't know any. Again, I told you I've read of certain spiritual groups using it. I don't know what it looks like. I'm not going to comment on that part. And I don't know if she's putting false memories into people's mind. But there's just so many people who have come out and spoken against her. And they have almost the same exact story. That it's like, if it's one, then maybe if it's like ones and twosies, maybe it's a coincidence, but when it's the same exact story, and it's like,
that's suspicious.
That's like, can we be for real? And then at the end of it, she says she wants the director to release the raw footage, and she says hashtag release the footage, which, oh Lord, I don't know what year she's living in, but God, that hurt me so badly. I felt like it was a meme and I laughed so hard because it would show exactly what happened. But you want to know what I want it to be released? You're absolutely right, bestie. I want her to release the investigative documents. Why can't we read the drafted summary from that lady if she was supposed to be non-biased, okay? And I know you were upset that she was talking to the camera crew, even though technically you would have given them permission because they were filming you, so they knew that she was there and all they had to do was get permission from her. And I don't know. Let's talk about episode 4. She starts out by saying she hates the way that they edit things because they made it seem like Blake moved out after their big fight. But in reality, Blake had moved out the day that Juliana had landed and he had gotten that apartment then. So here is my question for you. Blake moved out the day that Juliana landed. He was living with you.
Did you not say that nobody was living with you?
Was that not a whole thing in your last 2 reaction videos that you don't hold a commune when people don't live with you? And then it's weird because she's like, Blake did leave, but not for the reason that you think. It was because of Juliana and his work, and we kept trying to reassure Juliana, but we just couldn't. And so Blake ended up quitting and cutting off all contact with her, and that's why he's not there anymore. And like, maybe that's where the animosity comes from. But my question is,
what were you trying to reassure her of?
What were you trying? You were all ready to tell us all about their marital issues and all that other bullshit, but what were you trying to reassure us of? There's a real cool trend if you watch these reaction videos with her, that she is all right with telling everybody else's business and blaming everybody else for everything and going into depth on everybody else. But if there is something that could potentially make her look bad and make her look like the villain, she gives us the barest amount of detail. What were you trying to reassure her of? And then she goes on to say that conversation with Blake never happened. That conversation that they were having in the kitchen was because he had done something to hurt Juliana and sent her to the hospital. One, why don't you present the facts to prove that? They don't need to release the raw footage. If he really did something, you would have some proof or some evidence, right? That's for one. Okay. The conversation does not make sense in the context that you're trying to put it in. If you were upset that he did something to Juliana, right? You were upset that he did something to Juliana that sent her to the hospital. Why would you look this man in his face and say, what about our 18-year promise? You're breaking our 18-year promise. This whole system runs because of us and because of that promise we made. Those things are not correlating. And then for you to say, you're looking at me like a narcissistic bitch and having all this judgment for me, but you're weak and you have no honor. How does that correlate with Juliana being hurt? I'm so confused. Are you confused? Because I'm confused. There's also this weird thing that after she goes onto the spiel, she uses her paradoxical relationship to grab the viewer's belief. She's like, you guys know me. You know I'm not like this. We don't know you. I specifically don't know you. And maybe the people who view you for years feel like they know you. But girl, nobody knows anybody on the internet. We show what we want to show. I show what I want to show. She finally comments on the investigator, but the only thing that she has to say is nothing about the report. Just that the investigator was not working for the state, they were not working for the film crew, but was working for her, and she didn't know why she was trying to go on and play TV personality, but she'll have a conversation with her and she will be dealt with. So the other thing is that Teal gives a classic narcissist because she can never take accountability for anything at all. She blames her own crew for the non-negotiables. She says that they're the ones who came up with it. You have to be so brainwashed to be saying that you're putting Teal before your family. You have to be so brainwashed to say that you're not going to have any kids. That if Teal wants you, she gets you. And you know what's really even more crazier is that her saying that those non-negotiables came from her team when Blake openly admits in the documentary that those non-negotiables were created when he and Teal first started making YouTube videos. In the beginning of their relationship, before the team, before the crew, before anything, they had that contract between the two of them. And then as she started adding people in, they started signing to the same contract. So somebody is lying, and for once, I'm thinking it's not the palm-colored man. And the crazy part is that she says that this is a rough draft. But it's been a rough draft for years. And you're talking about your team is not experienced in creating these rough drafts. Ma'am, do you not remember in part 2 where she says that once you reach such a heightened level of understanding that you stop going to one teacher, you seek knowledge from all teachers? Why didn't you seek some damn knowledge from somebody who knew how to draft this? If you knew you couldn't draft this, your manager for some reason doesn't know how to draft a contract, even though he literally was a manager for like tennis players and sport athletes in Germany. This is just not believable to me. You're telling me all of these people, none of these people know. And then why did it take for this documentary to literally out you, for you to say that you're going to you guys started drafting with an actual professional? How long has the contract has got to be in play for years? I really want y'all to think about this. She said the team drafted the contract in the beginning and they weren't experienced. Blake has been with her for like 18 years, right? Garcia has been with her for like, what did I say? Like 4 to 8 years, bro. This has been a contract for like, if we're just going to put it in the mid-range, it's got to be like 6 to 10 years. You had to be outed for you to see an issue with it. And honestly, I don't even think they're actually drafting a new contract. I think she just said that to appease people. Anytime Juliana had an opinion or she would say something to Teal that she didn't agree with Teal saying that was outright wrong, Teal would argue that that's not exactly what was happening and that Juliana was just a brat that was upset that they weren't taking her advice because as she was an entry-level position. So she wasn't at a position to give any advice. She was just supposed to be doing whatever the hell they told her to do. Granted, that's usually what an entry-level position is, but I'm gonna be for real. If you're saying that you can change somebody and that you're gonna help somebody whether they want your help or not, and somebody rational says you can't help people that don't want to be helped, whether they're entry level or not, that's basic logical that's common sense. You can't help nobody that don't want to be helped. And you know what? I believe there is something very persuasive, something very, not mystical, but very something persuasive that pulls people in, because you got like 2 million followers on YouTube. You got almost 2 million followers on Facebook. You have all of these people that pay. You have people that pay $5,000, and the people at them retreats, there was like 20 people at them retreats. You know she's making bank. She's making bank by doing this. So must be something persuasive, but it's just the math is not mathing. There's some things that are just common sense. And that was common sense. And the other thing is that she never, ever, ever addresses the circle about Juliana. She never says anything. I thought she would, because that was a main talking point for everybody else that they thought was a red flag. Why are you pulling this girl in a circle and having everybody belittle this girl, make her feel like shit, and tell you what you want to hear? and make her seem like she's the enemy. And you admitted that she never said any of these things about you. This is just what you felt like. And I just found out that Teal believes that she can read minds. So maybe she read it from her mind. But again, I don't believe that. Her final thoughts are with the children thing, right? You can't have any children. She says, I'm not saying you can't have any children. You just can't have any children and live with me because I had kids. I'm done with that. I don't need a baby, a screaming baby waking me up in the middle of the night. I think that that's fine. That's a boundary that I have and people have to respect it. Okay, period, sis. I believe that. But one question.
Didn't you just say nobody was living with you? I'm waiting. We're waiting.
And the other thing is that she just reinstates, of course, she does not hate Juliana. She is a supporter of Juliana and Blake's relationship. But why did Juliana cut Blake off from you? If you're such a supporter and you're the one that was there for her and helped her through her marital problems and gave her all this great wisdom and advice, I'm gonna say something mean. Are you ready? You're my best friend, so I feel like I could say this to you.
Girl, you've been through 5 marriages. Don't give nobody a relationship advice.
Because I could have sworn when I thought you were supposed to stop at 3. I thought we stopped at 3 marriages and then you just never get married again because marriage is not for you. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't even believe in marriage. I'm just confused on how you thought you was giving good relationship advice and you had 5 marriages. Juliana cutting you off for something as simple. You're trying to make it seem for something as simple as a schedule. Doesn't make any sense. It's giving you didn't want them to leave your presence and be off living their own life, and you were trying to keep them held hostage. And Blake was totally cool, fine with it because, you know, he's been held hostage. Lord have mercy. He's been right by your side for the last like 18 years, so he doesn't care. But Juliana's like, I'm a grown-ass woman.
You're not going to tell me when I can take a vacation. You're not going to tell me when I can see my family. You're not going to tell me that you're more important than my family.
Not over here, Miss Ma'am. That's what it was giving. So the question is, what are you believing? Do you believe that Teal Swan leads a cult? Me? I 100% believe it. And it's not just because of the deep end. I did my own research. I read her backstory. I read even a piece of her book, as hard as it was, because it is very triggering. I listened to other people talk about Teal Swan, people who have left her inner circle, left her outer circle, ex-boyfriends, an ex-husband, an ex-friend, and they all have so many similar things to talk and say about Teal. And if you really, really want to know why I believe that Teal Swan is a cult leader, even though I 100% believe that Hulu did edit this documentary to make her maybe look worse than what she actually gave during 3 years, go to the next video and we'll talk about the podcast and we'll talk about Diana. She's gonna give you all the proof I feel like you need to say that she's a cult leader. And if you still don't believe me after that, well, that's what the ADHD sessions are about. We're forming our own opinions, but we're discussing it. Anyways, guys, I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Next video will probably be out within like a week because these take me forever to edit. Bye.